So, my colleagues, there should be no misunderstanding about the absurdity that just played out on the floor. For a while now, Republicans have claimed they want to pass the defense authorization legislation immediately. They said we couldn't afford to wait any longer. They called it a core duty, a bare minimum. And they called on me to bring it to the floor for a full vote. But a few moments ago, Republicans just blocked legislation to support our troops, support our families, keep Americans safe. Republican dysfunction has again derailed bipartisan progress. The Republican choice to block our bill
So we have some good breaking news about the fourth stimulus check. Another city in the country has just approved $500 stimulus checks every month for 1 year. Folks, states like Massachusetts and Minnesota are also putting forward new legislation for a new round of stimulus payments for the residents. 5,000 families in Chicago will also be lucky enough to get $500 stimulus checks every month for 1 year. And families that make under $35,000 per year are eligible for a random drawing of 5,000 families to be chosen. Stimulus payments, everybody, are being sent out. It is official.
Lawmakers face a number of political hurdles in the days ahead. Friday brings a looming deadline to avoid a government shutdown, and the debt ceiling debate is coming down to the wire again. Plus, Democrats are trying to pass President Biden's social spending plan. So Nicole Killian is standing by for us at Capitol Hill, to talk a little bit more. It's going to be a busy few days before Congress breaks again, or a few weeks, I should say. Congress has struggled to address the debt ceiling. Where do talks stand on that? And what would happen if the U.S. doesn't raise the debt ceiling?
Well, Leader Schumer and Leader McConnell have actually been talking about the debt ceiling, which is a lot different than what we saw earlier this fall when they were really posturing in this war of words. We don't know yet if some type of agreement has been reached or ultimately will be struck, but that is certainly the hope. Both leaders have made clear that they don't want to allow the debt ceiling to lapse, that they do believe it does have to be addressed.
Families chosen will be part of a pilot universal basic income program that provides families with monthly checks. The cash is to offset the financial strain caused by the crisis. Hundreds of thousands of Chicago residents actually lost their jobs when the crisis began. Data from a program in Stockton, California also showed unemployment improved in 125 residents given $500 per month for 2 years. Illinois also made the state decision to provide residents making below $75,000 checks worth $200 before the holidays. And now joint filers earning $150,000 will get $400. Plus, former president, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said the universal basic income is a must. It's a must for the government, and it's going to help protect people during the crisis. Do you believe in universal basic income, folks? Tell me in the comments below. Now, while the call for universal basic income cash payments has seen renewed life as the crisis upends the lives and paychecks of many Americans, it is also polarizing. But bonus stimulus checks are being sent out in California tomorrow, as the Golden State sends out the final round of payments. Millions of people eligible for the payments could receive between $600 and $1,100 as part of a holiday cash top-up. The next round of checks will be sent in the mail from November 29th, giving Californians a financial boost in the run-up to Christmas. And according to the Franchise Tax Board, paper checks can take up to 3 weeks to arrive, which issues the stimulus payments. And around 9 million eligible Americans are set to receive the end-of-year Golden State stimulus payment. The majority of direct deposit payments have also been sent out. And the Franchise Tax Board said if you do not receive a direct deposit by November 15th, you will likely receive a paper check. Plus, they hope to have most of their payments sent out by the end of 2021. You may receive a paper check, but rather than direct deposit, if you file your return by paper. And select the paper check gets a refund option on your tax return. Those who received an advance refund through your tax provider or paid your tax preparation fees, you can also see if you receive a stimulus check. Thank you again for your support, and until next time, have a great day.
Domestic issue. At a fundraiser late last month, Senator Gillibrand said Democrats are terrible at messaging. It's just a fact. Representative Susan Wild said that one of her constituents firmly believes the extra money in their bank account from the child tax credit is thanks to the former president. Do you agree with Senator Gillibrand's assessment? How do you plan to address some of the challenges the party has faced since on its agenda?
Well, I would say in my experience here, or working in communications, it is challenging to sell something before it exists. And now we have a package that the president is out there selling, including a trip to Minnesota tomorrow, including a couple of trips he already took. And our message is very clear and coordinated and united across the Democratic Party. And now it's the time to do that, which is that the president's agenda, the Democratic agenda, is going to lower costs for people across the country and give them some more breathing room. That contrasts with what we're seeing from the other side, which is not a lot of ideas in the cupboard. So I think you're going to see people out there projecting that message. We now have a package to sell. We're working to get Build Back Better across the finish line, and the president's going to be out there selling it. But I think I'll stop there. Go ahead.
Okay. Does the economic team have any projections for what the new variant might do for growth, for inflation, for the job market?
Not quite yet that I'm obviously aware of. It is something obviously we will continue to assess, but at this point in time, there haven't been additional restrictions beyond the travel that have been put in place. I mean, as it relates to CDC guidance. So I don't have any new projections at this point from our economic team.
Holiday spending figures, if those hold and the entire holiday shopping season is higher than it was last year by a lot, does the president expect that the supply chains will be able to handle that? And or do you all expect, and you're bracing people for shortages, higher prices, etc.?
I think what you're going to hear from the president when he meets with these CEOs shortly, and hear from these CEOs, many of whom we've been in touch with privately, many of whom I think have been outspoken publicly, is that they have plans in place.
Does the economic team have any projections for what the new variant might do for growth, for inflation, for the job market?
Not quite yet that I'm obviously aware of. It is something obviously we will continue to assess, but at this point in time, there haven't been additional restrictions beyond the travel that have been put in place. I mean, as it relates to CDC guidance. So I don't have any new projections at this point from our economic team.
And the holiday spending figures, if those hold and the entire holiday shopping season is higher than it was last year by a lot, does the president expect that the supply chains will be able to handle that? And, or do you all expect, and you're bracing people for shortages, higher prices, etc.?
I think what you're going to hear from the president when he meets with these CEOs shortly, and hear from these CEOs, many of whom we've been in touch with privately, many of whom I think have been outspoken publicly, is that they have plans in place. The leaders of these companies.
The Senate returns to Washington today and will forge ahead on President Biden's social spending bill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wants to pass the legislation before Christmas, but the Senate adjourns for the holiday in just 2 weeks, December 13th. It's a tight deadline, and Democrats still have to get moderate Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board. Both have threatened to derail the plan. Democrats cannot afford to lose a single vote. Lawmakers are also facing 2 December deadlines: funding the government